Lord Hayward, good morning to you and thank you for being with us. So,
Good morning.
First of all, you do think Liz Truss is going to win this?
I do, yes.
And why do you not think you'll be as emphatic as some of the polls suggest?
All the indications which have come from both Conservative Party contacts and also from journalists who've attended the hustings is that actually Rishi has had more support than the polls would suggest. I've had some discussions with polling companies about their possible margin for error because they were concerned about hearing the same sorts of messages. But I think the overall message I've got from friends, from Conservative Party members, MPs, is that it will be a Truss victory.
Lord Hayward, what kind of margin of victory do you think we could see?
I don't know, because we don't even know what level of turnout we've got. People, amazingly enough, don't return their ballot papers even when they've got postal votes at general elections, and I think the same now. So it would be very difficult to speculate. There's been ebbs and flows. There's been a sense that Rishi has done better later on in the campaign, but we don't know how many people had actually retained their ballot papers until the latter days. So I'm really not willing to make a projection.
Fair enough. I thought it was a bit of a cheeky question.
That's right.
Let me put it to you this way then. I mean, there is a lot of discussion about the division within the Conservative Party, and if it's not a huge, overwhelming win for Liz Truss, I mean, that division will still be there and it will perhaps fester.
It will, but I think the important thing for Liz Truss is not only to deal with the emergencies which are facing the nation's economy particularly, but also setting about healing the wounds within the party by bringing in leading supporters of the Rishi campaign into her cabinet. I heard David Davis yesterday on Sophie Ridge making exactly the same point, that you can't govern properly unless you have a united governing party, and that to govern, you're going to have to bring in some key Rishi supporters at a high level in government.
Yeah, I mean, all you guys are saying this, all the grandees are saying that it needs to be a cabinet that reflects the breadth of the party. But we've seen the reporting of who is likely to be in those top jobs, and that doesn't reflect the breadth of the party at all.
No, it doesn't, and that's something that concerns me. I'm sure that Liz Truss has heard the messages coming from whoever it may happen to be, and I think there is a general assessment that Boris's first cabinet was a bad cabinet because all he did was award his friends jobs, people who were absolute loyalists, and that doesn't work. If you go back to Mrs Thatcher's days when she became Prime Minister, she brought all sorts of people who were known to be critics of hers into cabinet, and that's how you set about reuniting the party, because it has to be reunited at the top and work downwards from there.
And this goes to the heart of how a Liz Truss government would be run, wouldn't it? Because who she puts in place at the very beginning is going to set out her stall as to how she's going to govern. And if she doesn't set in place a team that, as you say, that has all the sort of talents and as a broad sort of base of ideas, she's going to really struggle. And there's already reporting that some people are already planning a coup to oust her.
Yes, I think that's improbable. I think that's just fanciful gossip and barroom chat. The key thing, as far as Liz Truss and her supporters are concerned, is very clear that she's got to get a move on in terms of forming a government, and at the same time, very, very quickly in the next few days, deal with the cost of living and energy issues that are really pounding, as you've just been hearing, both the individuals, but also the commercial and industrial sectors.
And a quick thought from you then, Lord Hayward, on a couple of those things. First of all, on the reporting this morning about the huge numbers that are being suggested as part of that cost of living package, some 100 billion and a price cap coming in. I mean, how did you react when you read that reporting, that might be an idea?
It's headlines, and one never knows what goes with those things in one form or another. So clearly the Treasury civil servants will have been working incredibly hard over the last few weeks, preparing briefs, dealing with the current Chancellor, and they will have to look at the issue in detail rather than dealing with broad-line speculation, I'm afraid.
OK, and I thought then on the process, there's been 2 months of this. We're going to finally find out in a couple of hours' time who is the leader. I mean, it's gone on way too long, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. And we have had this hiatus, as far as I'm concerned. We shouldn't have had this hiatus in this form with a temporary new government with Boris Johnson still in premiership. The rules that we have were adopted if we were in opposition. And we now need to look at whether we change the rules if we're in government.
Lord Hayward, finally then, I mean, you wouldn't speculate on what the margin of victory would be, but I wonder if you'll indulge me on this. I mean, you've seen a lot of Prime Ministers over the years, excuse me. Who was the best Prime Minister and why?
I think there's no doubt that Mrs Thatcher was the best Prime Minister. She didn't face the size of in-tray that Liz Truss is likely to face, but she had massive structural problems in this country, and she tackled a lot of them.
OK, Lord Robert Hayward, always good to get your thoughts, sir. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.